إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون صدق الله العظيم. Indeed, the praise is for Allah, and therefore we praise Him. We seek His guidance, His assistance, His help exclusively, and we seek His forgiveness, and we seek refuge with Allah from the evil that emanates from within and the harm thereof. We give open testimony that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah. Highly glorified is He. He has no partner in the dominion of His creation. We give further testimony that Muhammad, to whom the Quran is revealed, is His servant and messenger. Peace and prayers be upon him. Peace and prayers be extended to his family, his companions, and all those who gather in righteousness what follows thereafter. Ameen. O you who believe, have taqwa for Allah, as it is his right to receive taqwa and die not except as Muslims. Surely Allah speaks the truth. Assalamu alaikum, beloved Muslims. We thank Allah for His mercy, for allowing us to gather together on Yawm al-Jumu'ah for Salatul Jumu'ah. And whenever we think about Allah's mercies, we are reminded of how we are transmitters of that mercy to others. And I begin with an apology for my tardiness, because I was writing my brother-in-law, our Imam Zaki, last week. Afterwards, I said, brother, you got to be on time. And here I am, courtesy of a nice little construction project, but the beautiful reminder that Allah is indeed merciful. And we must constantly be looking for those mercies and then ready to give those mercies to others, inshallah. So today's khutbah, we want to speak about a few things, and actually we'll probably be addressing this topic for the next 3 or 4 khutbahs that I give, inshallah. And that is around our relationship with Allah, and how do we strengthen that, and how that relationship with Allah translates into our relationships with other people and our relationship with creation in general. So we begin often with ittaqullah, have taqwa for Allah, right? As it is His right to receive taqwa. And we define taqwa often. We go into the myriad of ways, the depth of this word, fear, reverence, regard. And we also go back to how this word is related to the word shield, right? It's derived from a word which means shield. So we think about defense, and we think about the ability that Allah has given us in this command for us to have taqwa, this regard, right? This reverence, this fear, that is actually for our own defense. It is for our benefit. So this taqwa that Allah tells us to have, it is defined by our understanding of what we actually know about Allah. Now we say Allah, right? Allah is God. Allah is the one. There's nothing like Allah. We know Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Allah is the one who created us. Allah is God. But is that enough for the human intellect to really ponder upon and to grasp all of what Allah has for us in terms of who Allah is? Is it enough us just to say, well, I believe that there's only one God, and it is Allah, and that is sufficient? Yeah, that's sufficient. But in terms of the depth that we're looking for, we're looking to build a foundation, a relationship with Allah that is based upon our understanding of who Allah is. And Allah tells us who Allah is, right, in the Quran. So we begin with an ayat. This is sort of Al-Araf. It's the 180th ayat. Just going to read a piece of it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Right? The most beautiful names belong to Allah, so call on Him by them. The most beautiful names belong to Allah, so call on Him by them. And these names, they give us context for who this one is who has created the heavens and the earth. It gives us depth of understanding as to who we are calling on when we call on Allah. So in my trade, what this is referred to as securing your foundation. So when I'm building walls, we're going up for as much, for every 10 feet or so as we go up, we make sure that we're still going straight up, right? We secure the steel members that we're using, we secure them to make sure that they're not moving, right? To simply keep moving up without securing that foundation, you could find yourself leaning one way or another. You could find yourself actually falling off, right? So the idea of securing your foundation, it has an application for our life just in general, but it's something that we should think about in terms of how we see our relationship with Allah based on these beautiful names that Allah has given us. So Allah tells us in a hadith that Sahih says that Allah is, as it says, I am as my servant sees me. I am as my servant sees me. Right. So if we have just a general view of Allah, then that's all we get. It's just a very general. But Allah has given us these wonderful names, these wonderful attributes for us to have a relationship and an understanding of who Allah is on a moment by moment basis, on a situational basis, right? Where we have Allah with us in our difficulties, we have Allah with us in our triumphs. We have Allah with us as we are asking, and we have Allah with us when we are receiving, right? So this is a part of our foundation. This is also part of how we see Allah. Another hadith, and I'm paraphrasing the hadith, so forgive me for that. But Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this was related by Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu, who said that the Prophet, peace and praise be upon him, said that whoever memorizes the 99 names of Allah, that they are assured paradise. Whoever memorizes, right, commits them to memory, commits them to heart, that they are assured paradise. Why would something as simple as memorizing, like, you got to think, we all know at least 99 people. We know the names of at least 99 people. Without doubt. And some of us know all 99 of the attributes of Allah. Some of us do. And many of us don't. Right? We may be familiar with them. We recognize them when we hear them, but they're not something that is ingrained in us. Whereas we go through our day, we're calling on Allah by those names. We're remembering those names. And we are also understanding the conversation that is taking place for us through those names. So the idea, as we said, that we're looking at our relationship with Allah and how it impacts, how it informs, it structures our relationship with other people, our relationship with creation. That is where we're going, inshallah. So we're talking about the one who has breathed the ruh, right? The one who has breathed the spirit into the human being, into Adam, our father Adam alayhi salam, and has given the trust of responsibility and leadership of creation, of this creation. Now this is interesting. This is interesting because just imagine if you had somehow found yourself, you stopped breathing. Now we know this is not completely consistent with the idea of creation and breathing the spirit, but just bear with me. If you had stopped breathing and somebody came along, just out of nowhere, just came along and started giving you CPR. Now, the new method is you don't have to give breaths. You don't have to give rescue breaths anymore. Now you just do compressions. That's it. But it used to be, you had to get up close and personal with somebody. Think about a few things. You look at them. Do I want to? I got to do the right thing. So you give them. This person is giving CPR. They're giving you mouth to mouth. They're doing the compressions, and eventually you come back to consciousness. Your heart is beating, you start breathing again. When you open your eyes and you gather your senses, you would want to know who this person was. You'd want to know their name. You would want to know probably everything that you could about this person. This person just saved my life. They just revived me. They brought me back. Who is this person? What is this person's name? There's no way this person walks away from us and we don't find out who this person's name. We don't get this person's number. We want to stay in contact, right? We feel a sense of debt. We are grateful, but we feel a sense of debt. Thank you. It is no different. Matter of fact, it is 1,000,000 times more intense when we consider the one who has put the spirit that animates us, that allows us to move about, that has given us intellect, right? That has given us life and given us and defined our purpose. It is no matter, like I said, it's 1,000,000 times more intense. So why would we not want to know these names? Why would we not want to know who Allah is, how Allah defines himself? So when we think about how Allah introduces himself to us, Allah introduces himself to us with mercy. With mercy. The very matter of fact, in case you missed it the first time, you get it a second time. He introduces himself Ar-Rahman and then Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. The merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. The entirely merciful, the especially merciful. He speaks nothing about his authority, speaks nothing about the great power that he has, even though within these two attributes, it implies power, it implies authority. You can't be somebody's benefactor and not have resources. You can't be somebody's benefactor and not understand what their particular trajectory is supposed to be. You can't be somebody's benefactor and not understand what their needs are. You can't be somebody's benefactor if you don't know exactly when you're supposed to be giving. Right? That's authority. That's authority there. But that's not the emphasis. The emphasis is in the mercy, the merciful benefactor. And then we have the merciful redeemer. And redemption is tricky business. Redemption is tricky business for us human beings. Because if you want to get into redemption, then you got to be ready for some redemption-worthy stuff. And that's messy. That's messy, is uncomfortable. The things that we have to be redeemed for are things that often, these are things that we are ashamed of. These are mistakes that we have made intentionally or unintentionally. These are things that we don't want broadcast out in front of other folks. And if they are out in front of other folks, what we find is that in society, in our social structures, we are often defined more easily and much more quickly by our mistakes than our successes. But Allah says that He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He is the merciful benefactor. He is the merciful redeemer. And redemption is what? Redemption is to be taken from a state where you feel shame, you feel failure, you feel incompleteness, a complete lack of peace. And Allah tells you, I am the merciful redeemer, which means that I am the one. Allah is the one who has the ability to take you out of that state, to raise you back up in the sight of other people, but more importantly, in your own sight, in your own perspective. Because we are often our strongest and our worst critics. When we make a mistake and we are not connected to Allah, when we are not connected to all that Allah is, we will define ourselves. Matter of fact, we don't have to wait for somebody else to come along and tell us, hey, you know good, messed up, you can't be trusted. Whatever it is, right? We'll walk around telling ourselves that all day long. But But Allah says, when he says that he is the merciful redeemer, that means you are not only redeemed outside, you are redeemed inside. That you feel a sense of redemption, that you no longer define yourself by your mistakes. You no longer define yourself by those moments, those things that you have done that you wish you could take back, but you can't take those things back. But it doesn't mean that you have to still live in that space. And that comes from the regard that we have for Allah, knowing that he is not just Allah, but he is Ar-Rahim, that he is the merciful Redeemer. But what does this mean for us? Well, let me go down one more and then bring this back to us, because we're talking about how we structure our relationships with other people and our relationship with ourselves based on how we see our relationship with Allah. And we see Allah based on those beautiful attributes that he has given us. Al-Asma al-Husna, right? The beautiful names. So as I said before, Allah speaks about authority, because after we get from Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, we get to what? Al-Malik. Al-Malik. The king, the ruler, the master, the controller. And this is all just in the first three ayah that Allah has given us in Surah Al-Fatiha. He is saying, Allah, Maliki Yawmiddin, master, controller, the king, the ruler of all the systems of knowledge. Master of the day of judgment. I'm sorry, I'm going to Rabbil Alameen. But master, the ruler of the day of religion, more accurately, Maliki Yawmiddin, right? The master, the one who controls this particular day. So as Allah has instructed us and given us this wonderful example, where he tells us that we should consider our own introduction, our own relationships, where you lead with mercy. Before you get to talking about how bad you are and how much authority, how much responsibility you have, how many resources you have, how many titles you have, that you introduce yourself with mercy first. Merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer. You're looking at provision and you're looking at redemption. And these are extremely layered topics and ideas. So we have in this particular example something for us to consider in our relationships with others. So let's go back to this idea of redemption. When you are a people as a society in the redeeming business, that means you are looking for those who believe that they have failed. You're looking for those who believe they have failed, but they don't want to be defined in that way. They're trying to move outside of that. And if we also pay attention to the fact that as Allah introduces himself to us in Surah Al-Fatiha, right, the most recited surah in the Quran, that he's speaking to a people, how important is it? How beautiful would it be if our nation, if humanity in general, but let's just speak about home first, right? Charity begins at home and spreads abroad. How beautiful would it be if our nation believed that it could be redeemed? We have a saying on our currency, in God we trust. In God we trust. If we trust in God, then we know that God is the Redeemer. He is the Redeemer, which means that we have to be open to redemption. That means we don't define ourselves according to past offenses. We don't define ourselves according to past ignorances. We don't define our potential for moving forward based on what happened before. We don't do that because Allah doesn't do that. And Allah encourages us to what? Allah encourages us to be forgiving. Not stupid people. Understand? Right? We're to protect the life that Allah has given to each of us. But whenever possible, if we can forgive, especially when we're dealing with our brothers and sisters, if we can forgive, it is better for us. It is a credit for us. It allows for us to move out of those ugly spaces, those spaces where people would rather, or we, and I could have given this khutbah to myself in a closet, right? All, you just happen to be here. But the reality is, we are prone to judgment, to saying that people this is who they are, and this is all they ever will be. But we have so many examples. The Sahaba are just littered with examples of people who went from one state to the other. They went from disbelief and immorality to a morality, being upstanding people and holders, preservers of the tradition. But we don't even have to go back that far. We can look right here. We can look at ourselves. We can look at in our families. We can look at the people that we actually know, and that is the proof, and that is the proof of what is possible. It is a proof of what is possible. But how transformative would it be if those in power, those with authority, right, those who promote messages, who promote division, who promote hatred and suspicion, if they actually were looking for redemption and believed that redemption was possible, we would find ourselves in a much, much different place. But after Allah has introduced himself through mercy twice, right, give us a double dose of mercy, and then tells us about his authority, Allah brings us to As-Salam. He is the source of peace, the owner of peace, the only grantor of peace. Our redemption leads to that peace. That peace, matter of fact, the redemption is not possible without that peace. Our provision is not possible without that peace. So when we think about Allah, when we call upon Allah by these beautiful names that he's given us, when we think about how we respond to our family, we respond to our co-workers, our neighbors, and so on, let us remember that Allah has first introduced himself to us through mercy in varying degrees before he came to us with his authority, with his power, right? And this is all to bring us to a position of peace, right? And this is what Allah gives us. This is what we are holders of. We are holders of the peace that Allah has given us, that we strive for. So may Allah bless us to perfect that peace. May Allah bless us to continue to call upon him by these names. May Allah bless us to bring those names into our hearts, to moisten our tongues with the saying of those names. May Allah allow us to continue growing in with all the benefits and blessings that he has given us. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah. As we quickly close, as I mentioned earlier, the importance of securing our faith, right? Making sure that we're looking at our trajectory, how we're moving. I want to just share very quickly, this may seem very mundane, but the further we move along with our developments in society, the more difficult it becomes for us to carve out spaces where we can actually ponder and think on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I say that just based on, I don't know how many of you all have smartwatches, Apple Watches, Galaxy Watches, whatever. But I did something, this has been the most amazing week for me, alhamdulillah. And a big part of that is, show y'all something right there, see that? Yeah. That's just I'm not doing a commercial. It's a G-Shock watch. There's no Bluetooth on it. Got a few alarms on it. Does a few time zones. But what it does not do is I am not peppered with a constant assault of notifications. You got a Facebook notification. You got an Instagram notification. You got an email. You got a text. You got, just constantly throughout the day. So you're constantly going back, pulling out the phone, look, see, okay, what's going on? I need to be checking in on this. My phone has been staying, I got my tool belt on and sitting up here. It's just been sitting right there because my phone is on silent and I have time to think. I have time to ponder. And some of us are not as easily distracted as others. So you may be one of those folks that can have your notifications on and still keep moving. I found out that that's not who I am. So knowing this, it has given me more time to be intentional about my reflection, my thinking on the blessings of Allah. It has actually increased me in gratitude. My gratitude is increased because my attention is not constantly being pulled back to things that really have no importance, things that could wait until I get off work, things that could wait until I decide to look at it. Right? But what does Allah tell us? Allah tells us that the life of this world is what? It is but an illusion. And Allah is what? Allah is al-haq. Allah is the sure reality, is the truth. Once again, this goes back to, if we understand that Allah is the reality, Allah is the truth, then we want to know the subtleties, the layers of Allah. Right? We want to, I think I beat myself out. So we want to know. We want to draw closer to Allah. So which means that we have to do an inventory. We have to look at what are the things that are keeping us from Allah. What are the things that are constantly grabbing our attention? And there are some things that are worthwhile, but there are quite a few other things. And it's not going to get any easier as we go forward. Because pretty soon there'll be glasses. Matter of fact, they had them a couple of years ago. They just never went mass market with them. Right? You have them in the glasses, your notifications, everything popping up. So we ask that Allah preserve our intention to be in remembrance. We ask that Allah preserve our efforts and increase our efforts and reward us for our efforts to think on Allah, right? Because thinking on Allah is going to produce the type of gratitude. It's going to produce the type of patience. It's going to produce the type of resilience that we need to be the best possible men and women, young folks, elders that we possibly can. So I pray that if there's anything, anything that was a benefit that is said today, we attribute that only to the mercy and blessings of Allah. If there's anything that has been said in error, I take full responsibility and ask Allah's forgiveness and your forgiveness for that. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب.